welcome on in to the Sports on Tap Seattle podcast. We are the Sports on Tap Seattle brothers. I'm Sami on Tap.
And I'm George on Tap.
And I might have had that intro go for a double loop. So sorry for those listening that heard a double loop before we started talking. But here we are. Geno Smith signs. It's been a while since we've done a podcast, George. Not a while, but it's been like 2 weeks. After 2 or 3 weeks, before Mariners season, we don't have an NBA team. After Seahawks season, there's always kind of a dead period, and we've been working on some new versions of the show and whatnot. And then boom, we get hit with Geno Smith signing today, and here we are, the quarterback of the future for 3 years, 2 years maybe.
Yeah, I mean, at least for 2 years, I think, or at least 1 year, depending on. I mean, we don't really know the exact details of the contract yet, right? We don't know if, is there a cap hit if he has a bad year and you cut him after next year? I mean, the NFL, the contracts are so complicated sometimes to really figure out. But we know at least next year he's the quarterback, and probably 90% sure he's the quarterback the year after.
Yeah, and because they're also not paying him $35 million a year on average, right?
Absolutely.
To only be a mentor, like he's obviously getting paid this to play, and to play a lot, right? And I don't know, like you said, I don't know the full details of the contract yet. And I'm looking up to see if we've missed anything. Obviously, the only thing we know is the first year could go up to $52 million, which is about half the contract, almost exactly half the contract. So it sounds like that'd probably be for cap reasons, so to say, maybe.
Yes.
But I guess I'm going to do some research as we're talking. Obviously, a quicker podcast today, just talking about this, and I just wanted to see if something I'm finding here that's that I don't know about the contract. But first and foremost, it's $35 million a year, which is where exact amount of a Kirk Cousins. Jared Goff's at like $33.5 million a year, and we know Derek Carr signed for $37.5 million a year. For me, George, even though it is a lot, it sounds like a crap ton of money, which it is, and it might be a little bit of an overpay. It's what the market asks for, right?
Yeah, I mean, we just got a text from a good friend of ours who asked, "Is it fair price? Is it market price or overpay?" And I mean, that's a great way to look at it. And I think just what you just said, it's market price. Like, this is the market price for a good starting quarterback in the NFL. Plain and simple.
Yeah, and I think fair and market price could be two different things. Is it fair? It might be a little bit more fair on the Geno Smith side than for the Seahawks side, right? But like you said, it's market price. Like, I'm sure the Saints would have preferred to not pay Derek Carr $37 million a year. They'd prefer to pay him like any other team, 25 or 20. Obviously, every team prefers to pay less, but when you have a market, you have a market. Derek Carr's not going to go out there and take less than Kirk Cousins did a couple of years ago. Like that's just how it works in football, right? Derek Carr is probably at that same level of it. Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff. Well, in all honesty, Geno Smith's been doing it less years than all those guys. So he got a little less than Derek Carr and the same amount as Kirk Cousins and a little more than Jared Goff, who will probably make more than him in the next couple of years because he's younger. So that's the reality of market price sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you don't go to a butcher, right? We there's a butcher we go to here in Phoenix, and it's like $29.99 for a really good ribeye, and that's just the market price. Like, you want to go get a bad ribeye and pay $13, be my guest. And that's kind of the thing with Geno Smith as a quarterback. You're paying for a good quarterback. You're not paying for Wagyu. We're not paying for Patrick Mahomes here, but we're paying for a very nice, good piece, right? Like, in a good quarterback. So that's how I look at things. Like, your market price, you might not want to pay. I don't want to pay $30 for a ribeye, right? I'd rather pay 15, but I'm gonna also get what I pay for, and we're paying for a good quarterback, and we get a good quarterback.
Yeah, and I think that's the only fair way to look at it. Now, I guess for me, Sammy speaking here, I wonder if people always can tell the difference between our voice, by the way, George. I don't know.
Yeah, when there's no video.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. And the funny thing about this is like we have no video today, but anyway, we don't ever say like Sammy here on the podcast for the people who are listening to audio only. But now today, since we aren't on video, I feel like we need to say that.
Yeah, but when most people listen on podcasts over like YouTube, so it's like they usually just hear our voices. I just really wonder if they know, like, we are brothers. This is not like, Jim and Frank who have different parents, different voices completely, right? We're brothers, so I don't know. I was thinking though, like, this is Sammy's point here: is they you can't sit there and say it's too much, because you can say it feels like too much, but if we're being honest when it comes to market value and price, like I just thought about this like in my head, why would Geno Smith take anything less than Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Derek Carr range? Like, in what world would he do that after the year he had? He was a comeback player of the year. He led the NFL in completion percentage. They went to the playoffs. Meanwhile, the guy they traded, Russell Wilson, was on like a 4-win Denver Broncos team and played like absolute dog shit. He's 32 years old, so 3-year contract pretty much takes him to the age that Russell Wilson's at now. And now you're out of now you're out of Geno Smith at that 35-year-old range, which is probably a good idea. There's no realistic reason why you wouldn't have to or want to pay a guy like Geno Smith $35 million a year, unless you are trying to tank. And the Seahawks are obviously, we thought they were last year, they're obviously not trying to tank. So yes, you pay him Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Derek Carr money. There's a reason the Saints, who didn't make the playoffs, right? They were worse than the Seahawks last year. There's a reason they went ahead and paid a quarterback $37 million a year, because you need that to make a playoff run. Simply said.
Right. So, I mean, here I've just got the list of quarterbacks in front of me, like highest paid, and it's Aaron Rodgers, $50 million a year, Russell Wilson, 49, Kyler Murray, 46, Deshaun, 46, Mahomes, 45, Josh Allen, 43, Stafford, 40, Prescott, 40, Kirk Cousins was on a 1-year, $35 million deal. So that puts like then Jared Goff, 33 and a half. Derek Carr now jumps over Kirk. So we're talking like Geno's about the 11th or 12th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And last year, according to PFF last year, maybe he had a better year than he anticipated or he'll ever have again. But he was at the 6th highest rated quarterback according to PFF last year. Do I expect that to happen every year? No, but if he's the 11th or 12th best quarterback in the NFL and we're paying him like the 11th or 12th highest paid quarterback in the NFL, fantastic, perfect.
Yeah, I think what's interesting here is obviously we're going to talk about, does this still mean they draft a young quarterback? And what are we going to do in the draft? What does this mean for everything in general, right?
Absolutely.
But before I move on from this thought, you said something that really struck me, right? Which was, if he plays at X level, whatever that is, right? You said if he plays at the 11, 13, what number, like let me just break this down for a second. He played in the NFL for 10 years, right? In 10 seasons, he made $8 million. Okay. Mm-hmm. We are paying him 4 times his career earnings just next year.
So happy for him. Just want to point that out.
Sorry. Yeah. We're talking about his salary earnings. Technically, his career earnings $17 million with incentive this year, because this year he hit his $3.5 million incentive. There's other years he could get a couple $100,000, right? But his salary, let's say, just his flat salary was $8 million, signing bonus $3 million. If you took away this year's incentive where he made the playoffs and broke those numbers, which the Seahawks were probably shocked they paid him $3.5 million in incentives this year. Before last year's career earnings was $10 million. And then without the incentives, it would have been 14. It's at 17. So technically, we're paying him double his career earnings in total with signing bonuses, incentives, workout bonuses. We're paying him double his career earnings in one season. What number quarterback in the league, or what type of play makes that a good versus bad contract? There's got to be somewhere like a
top half.
If he's a 15th best quarterback in the NFL, are you happy with $35 million?
Yeah, top half. I mean, I don't know if I'm like top half quarterbacks in the NFL. That's the best way to look at it. Like, if he's
Like, are
playing
you
as a
happy
top
with
half,
a Baker Mayfield on the Browns season, which he was probably like the 15th best quarterback in the NFL that year when they made the playoffs?
yeah, that was for for a year, sure, that I'd be
Yeah, I'm
okay
not
with
talking
it.
about the
We're not,
totality of the contract right now. Because I'm
yeah.
talking
I
about
mean,
next year. Yeah, like
yeah, next year, yeah, I'd be fine with that. I'm not like I wouldn't be doing backflips, but I'm like I'm happy, right? It's better than having, oh, okay, cool, we got a second round pick and he's the 27th best quarterback, but we don't pay him anything. Like, all right, and we're also not going to win anything. So,
yeah.
like I think this team is built on defense, running the ball control, making good decisions. Geno was a very good decision maker last year. We have a stable organization. If he's the 15th best quarterback, which I think he's going to be better than the 15th best quarterback, that means we're a playoff team.
Yeah. And I mean, the team's only getting better. Now, I think also the beauty of it, because sometimes when you pay a quarterback or slightly overpay, which the reality is, George, you always have to overpay your quarterback, right? The only
Mhm.
quarterback that I would say right now that like might be fucking underpaid is like Patrick Mahomes, because he took signed such a long-term deal that his 50 million in 5 years might have actually been 70 if he waited. But
Yep.
he might be the only person right now in the NFL you could ever, or maybe ever, him and Tom Brady, the only two people you'll ever say were underpaid. But realistically, if I told you Jared Goff makes 32 million a year, which he does, it's like, damn, that's a lot of money. Like, it always feels like an overpay because quarterbacks get paid quarterback money. But the
Very,
Seahawks
very,
had
very true.
huge cap space. They were top 7 or top 6, I believe, in cap space for this season. Sounds like they're front loading a lot of the money for this if with incentives this year. We have great draft capital. We have a lot of young players on the team. We already paid Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Tyler Lockett's under contract. I don't know for how long, but he's been paid. I think we sign DK? We haven't signed DK. No, we did.
No, we did. We signed DK to a very good contract.
Yeah. We signed DK in the offseason. Sorry. He signed the what was it? Why am I blanking on this? I know we signed him.
Oh, no,
Right?
you almost like made me blank from your blanking. You know what?
Yeah, we
Someone,
signed him he signed through 2025 now. He gets 13 and 18 million next year. Yeah, we did.
okay.
Sorry. 3 years, 72 million. I remember it now. So we've signed a lot of our big names, right? Like, now we're gonna have to probably sign, Charles Cross is gonna be good in 2 years for ready for a
Woolen.
contract. All the Woolen's gonna be looking for money, but that's still 2-3 years away. We really have, with the 5th pick this year and all the picks we have throughout the draft, or if we trade the 5th pick and pick up a bunch of pieces, this is still a Super Bowl contention team, even with the expensive quarterback. Now, usually you want to be on that rookie deal when you win, right, for a quarterback. But we had so much money cleared up that there is a shot if you do the exact right thing in terms of the draft, fixing the defensive line, fixing the offensive line, maybe, signing a couple of veteran pieces. There's a shot for this team. If Geno plays like a top half quarterback, sorry, let me make sure I say that. If he plays like a top half quarterback, we do have a decent shot at being a Super Bowl contender.
Okay, here's the thing. Let's say Geno Smith. Let's just say Aaron Rodgers. Sorry, doesn't play for the Packers next year, whether that's retirement or he moves to the AFC. Kyler Murray for the Cardinals is hurt. He's going to be out part of the season. Here are the quarterbacks in the NFC that we could say could be better or around Geno's level: Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Derek Carr, Geno Smith. Those are the best quarterbacks in the NFC.
He's actually coming off surgery. I was going to say Brock Purdy potentially, the way he played this year.
Also, we also don't know who their quarterback's going to be. Yeah, so you're right.
Well,
Off
because he got hurt.
Yeah,
yeah. If he didn't get hurt, he was on that list.
And Murray got hurt. Like, there's a lot of hurt. This is a good year for not for injuries. There's no good year for injuries.
That was about to be a fucked up statement.
Yeah, it's a good year to try to take advantage of the circumstances because Stafford's coming off an injury too, and see if we can make it that run to the Super Bowl. This draft is going to be really, really important.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta, whether it's fair or not, you gotta admit, like you said, this is especially in the NFC West, probably the toughest division in terms of organizations, quarterbacks, coaches, right? I mean, obviously the Cardinals are probably lower on that list, but they do have a quarterback, at least, but he's hurt. And then the other coaches, I mean, Pete Carroll, Shanahan, and McVay. I mean, it's a stacked division. The teams that have
Very
all
sad.
seen recent success, right?
Mhm.
We, like you said, we have an injured Kyler Murray. We have a Matthew Stafford who, I mean, quite frankly, had that elbow surgery last year, ended up being like bench or not playing most of the season. And that team is getting rid of Jalen Ramsey. They got rid of Bobby Wagner. They might be in a slight. Don't be shocked if Matt Stafford gets moved, maybe, or I don't know. I don't know what's happening there, to be honest. And 49ers hurt quarterback situation. Who knows what they're going to have to do? Are they going to have to like be pulling teeth for them, but sign Jimmy Garoppolo to a 1 year again? Like no one knows what they're going to do, right? Like I know it's their least favorite thing because they've said we're going to move off of them publicly like 7 times, but this whole division's confused right now. I think outside the Seahawks. So the only team that is moving forward in the right direction while also being fine this year, right? 49ers are moving in the right direction, but there's a lot of question marks for this coming year for them. The Seahawks don't have question marks this year because of outside of linebacker, maybe because of the Jordan Brooks injury, but you have the quarterback, you have the coach, you have a lot of the pieces, and the draft capital. We're the only team in the NFC West I feel like is 100% clear going into this season, if you know what I mean. Like clear of mind of what we're doing exactly and who we're going with.
Yeah, we have a very, very. I mean, this is you're absolutely right.
Just stability, I guess. I don't know what it is.
We have the blueprint, and we don't have the injuries. Hopefully, we continue not to have the injuries to actually kind of go through with our blueprint and try to actually like capitalize on it and actually go through with it and go through all the steps and capitalize off the blueprint.
Yeah, and I think that's I think it's a good time to kind of ask the question too, is like, now what for the draft? There was a lot of talk about Anthony Richardson from Florida and a lot of Pete Carroll quotes, or Anthony Richardson even was like, oh, when I met Pete Carroll, there's so much good energy, the smile, like the way that they treated me.
Sammy, is there anything more is there anything more Seahawk than re-signing Geno Smith and then using the 5th pick on to draft it on a quarterback?
Well, I'm wondering if they're trying to just bump the draft stock. There's nothing more Seahawk than doing that. But you got to know too, Pete Carroll literally 2 days ago was like, it's a rare position to be in when you get the 5th pick when it comes to quarterbacks and the draft, blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, what are they just trying to boost this pickup so much that they get like 2 first-round picks for it, or like what?
That could be very possible. Maybe they're just trying to get because maybe they don't want the 5th pick.
Or my question for you is, would you be against them taking a quarterback? Like Anthony Richardson, supposedly a project, right?
Geno Smith, I don't want a project right now. Not with the 5th pick. Not with a quarterback, not with the defense we have. Like, let's go for it. Like, what? Like that 5th pick could be a really key player.
I've changed my mind. Like what you just said. Why don't we just go for it? Go fucking get Jalen Carter. Okay, maybe not Jalen Carter because he might be in like jail. I don't know, but like Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, whoever's available at that pick, and if not, fucking trade back, get the 8th pick and 2 second-rounders, or 8th pick in the next year's first. And go for it. Get the guys you need. Get another corner. Get a 3rd receiver. Get a new center. We need a linebacker, some edge rushers. Like, get a mix of these guys. Make a couple moves. Like, give Bobby Wagner a 1-year deal. Fill it up for Jordan Brooks while he's hurt. Get that corner. Get these guys we need, and go for it. Because you know what actually is interesting about this fact, George, that nobody, there's a lot of teams we're talking about when it comes to quarterbacks, right?
Right.
Just hear me out. This might be a little long-winded because I'm trying to explain it, but I'm looking at a lot of teams that have recently rebuilt. The Seahawks were allegedly rebuilding, but it did it in the same offseason. It wasn't a quarterback they drafted. It was a guy they've had as a backup. You had the Lions last year have this amazing kind of rebuild situation with a guy they traded for in Jared Goff. You had the Rams win a Super Bowl a year and a half ago off a guy they traded for. The Buccaneers were a team that they got a guy in free agency in Tom Brady. The Saints now, instead of trying to go draft a guy, they just signed their guy. A lot of these good teams, maybe with there's the exception of the guys that hit, but none of them were these 1st-round guys recently. Like, Brock Purdy was a 6th-round pick. Jalen Hurts was a late-round pick. I'm just talking about last 2 or 3 years. Forget the Mahomes, Burrow. I'm just talking about this last year or two. the teams that made it deep in the playoffs were guys that were late round picks, or there's been a lot of guys that were moving teams, new chances like the Matt Stafford, Jared Goffs, Geno Smith of the world. There hasn't been as many. Like, there's obviously the Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herberts of the world, right? But those are like the number one like guys. Like,
Yeah,
there hasn't been
I
that
was
many
gonna go
project
with
guys.
you. I want to kind of like piggyback off your statement there, and I think it's
Is this an
important to keep
agreement
in
or a
mind.
disagreement type of
This
type
is
of thing?
this is an agreement type of thing.
There's not that many Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herberts that have been coming out of the draft.
I was gonna say is I feel like with the quarterbacks of the draft, you either got to get someone in the top 10, and but those people from like 10 to 30, other than like Lamar Jackson, which is multiple years ago now, haven't really been hitting as often. Like, go through it. Like Buffalo Bills, that was a top 10 pick. Dolphins, top 10 pick. Patriots, Mac Jones, they were already thinking moving off him. He was like the 16th pick of a draft. Like those
Zach Wilson.
16, Zach Wilson, he was the second pick, but he's like that just didn't work out. But I don't think there's many guys. Now, one guy you can keep in mind, Kenny Pickett. He looks like he could work in Pittsburgh. But, and I'm just saying in general,
What pick was he?
He was like the 24th, I think, pick of a draft or something like that.
Okay.
20th. But there's stuff.
I'm
but
just talking
that's
about these
rare.
top 5 guys. I'm talking about these top 5 guys in the last couple of years too. I mean, Trevor Lawrence. Like, I mean, Justin Herbert, I think, was even the 5th, 6th, was 6th pick. Okay, it's Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. But then you look, a lot of these teams that rebuilt were off of trading for quarterbacks. Now, it might be good quarterbacks still, like Matt Stafford and Jared Goff, who were number 1 picks, but it wasn't off of you tanking for the number 1 pick or tanking for a top 3 pick every time it's working. There's a lot of teams that saw success with late round picks or traded for quarterbacks.
Yeah. Totally.
So maybe the Seahawks are doing it right. Maybe they're like, forget this top 5 pick, using it on the quarterback. Like, we found Geno for the next 3 years, and maybe we'll find that next guy, the next Baker Mayfield project, the next, Geno Smith project.
Can you please stop mentioning Baker Mayfield for me, though, please? I'm joking.
He's going to get a job.
I know he is going to. Yeah.
He's going to be the best backup in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. I think I could say you could see him as a good backup. Him and Jameis, man, those are just 2 guys me and you haven't hit on.
Yeah, I mean, Baker probably, I would say, has a little bit of more better career than Jameis as of now.
Oh, absolutely.
And probably has a better shot at having a starting job. Like, if Carolina doesn't figure out what they're doing, they might bring him back. Or not Carolina, sorry. I mean, like, if LA is doing a rebuild. Sorry, if LA is doing a rebuild, let's say they got rid of Matt Stafford, they might bring Baker Mayfield and try him out as a cheap project for a couple of years. See if they can rebuild them. You never know.
Speaking of the Panthers,
he looked okay on them. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but speaking of the Panthers, like, that's a team we should keep in mind, and maybe we can bait them into trading for that 5th pick and get some stuff. Like, they have the 9th pick, but that might not be good enough to get a quarterback. They have no quarterback. If we can turn our 5th pick into like the 9th pick, and then the 9th pick in the 2nd round, for example, or something.
What do you mean,
that,
George? Carolina, they love having Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Teddy Bridgewater, Josh Rosen. They need to just go get. They're going to sign Jameis Winston. Duh, that's their next.
Oh my God! Yeah, Jameis Winston is going to attempt to be at every single AFC South team, and another team. I mean, the AFC South quarterback situation, other than the Saints.
Oh, yeah, Falcons don't have anyone. Desmond Ridder is not the guy.
He doesn't seem like the guy. So that's another team we can bait into trying to trade with us. So we have some teams behind us with the 8th and 9th pick that might really want to, hit us up and try to move up, or maybe the Jets at 13.
I think the Jets are either going to just stick with Zach Wilson or get like Garoppolo, Rodgers, whoever's free.
Yeah,
I can't see them going on a top 10, top 5 quarterback pick again. That would seem a little crazy, and like every other year.
Yeah, but if there's any team that would do it, it is the New York Jets.
Yeah, or the Seahawks, who would use the pick for a quarterback and would be like, "What the fuck's going on?"
Yeah, that which do not underestimate that likelihood.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna guess we're not going quarterback now, but I wouldn't be shocked if we take one at some point in the draft as well.
Yeah, no, maybe 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, project.
Yeah, project guys. All right, yeah. I think that's all I got today. It was just, we did not prep anything for this podcast. We were just talking about Geno Smith signing.
Absolutely.
You agree?
Oh yeah. I mean, we had to do it on a whim. We couldn't prep for it because we didn't know he was going to sign.
Yeah. Well, here we are. Much love, I guess. some updates for those that listen to the pod. We should be back on a regular weekly schedule, if not maybe sometimes more than once a week when seasons are now the Mariners are starting. So stay tuned. We'll be back on a more regular schedule now. And for those that are listening, you might have discovered us on Seahawks on Tap podcast, or we have a Mariners on Tap. We separate the podcast by Seahawks and Mariners, but we also have the Sports on Tap Seattle podcast, which you're always going to hear us call it by that name. That's our podcast for all Seattle sports combined. So if you like all Seattle sports, make sure you check us out at Sports on Tap Seattle and at Sant Seattle, SONT Seattle, on all social media. And you'll find our other pages there, like Mariners on Tap, Seahawks on Tap, et cetera, et cetera. So just making sure we separate those things out, like you guys know. And man, oh man, George, we have a Mariner starting soon, and Geno Smith signs a $105 million contract. I wish I could sign just a contract that looks like that.
I know, same here, man.
Wouldn't be too shabby.
No, it would not under any circumstance. But good thing he didn't write back, but he got to at least sign that contract, right?
He sure did. Good for him.
Honestly. I'm so happy for him.
Me too. All right. All love to y'all. And we'll be back soon. This is the Sports on Tap Seattle podcast. And you know what we like to say, George.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by.
Peace.